is inconclusive, and often most inaccurate. It is the force flowing through the planets, and not the force of the planets themselves which then governs and controls. The man then becomes receptive to the subtler and higher energies of the solar system, and of the 12 governing constellations. 2. That the sun sign, as it is called, indicates the nature of the man, physical, mental and spiritual. It holds the secret of the personality ray, and of the man's responsiveness or lack of responsiveness to the soul, the real man. It indicates also the integration already achieved, and the present point of unfoldment of the soul qualities, of the present available equipment, of the present life quality and of the immediately possible group relations. It indicates, from the angle of the ageless wisdom, nothing more. This is a reversal of the usual astrological position. The reason that I proffer this is that humanity is enough evolved so that the astrology of the soul will become possible before long. It constitutes from many points of view a reversal of normal procedure. This is both wise and necessary, and also inevitable. Astrologers will eventually be divided into two classes. The exoteric astrologers who will be occupied with the horoscope of the personality, and the esoteric astrologers who will be occupied with the purposes of the soul. 3. That the rising sign indicates the remoter possibilities, and the spiritual goal and purpose of the immediate incarnation and of the immediate succeeding incarnations. This sign concerns itself with the struggle of the spiritual man, to carry on, from the point achieved so that when the life energy is temporarily exhausted and the death of the personality takes place, the man finds himself nearer the center of his life, closer to the center of his group and approaching the center of divine life, as the ageless wisdom expresses it. This particular phrase, death of the personality, has two definite connotations. A. It may mean the death of the physical body, which is inevitably followed by the two stages of the death of the emotional vehicle and the subsequent dissipation of the temporary and ever-changing form which the quota of mental energy has assumed during incarnation. B. The subjective and mystical death of the personality. This is a phrase indicating the transfer of the focus for the distribution of energy from the personality, a definite center of force, to the soul, another definite center. I realize that these concepts are not in line with the usual astrological postulates. However, astrology would not be wasting time if it experimented with these ideas for a while. Astrologers might discover some most interesting and arresting problems, and perhaps arrive at an accuracy which is at present unknown. It might be of some service if I enlarge somewhat upon this point. In connection with the sun sign, the rising sign and the effect of the thought form relating to the moon, the position of esoteric astrology is as follows. 1. The sun sign. This sign indicates the present problem of the man. It sets the pace or the established tempo of his personality life. It is related to quality, temperament and the life tendencies, which are seeking expression during this particular incarnation, and it is suggestive of the rajasic or the activity aspect of the innate man. Fundamentally, the forces here found are indicative of the line of least resistance. 2. The ascendant or rising sign indicates the intended life, or immediate soul purpose for this incarnation. It holds the secret of the future and presents the force which, rightly used, will lead the man to success. It represents the sattvic, or harmony aspect of life, and can produce right relationship between soul and personality in any one incarnation. It thus points the way to the recognition of the force of the soul. 3. The moon. This type of force, coming from certain planets and not from the moon, indicates that which is past. It, therefore, summarizes limitation and the present handicaps. It governs the physical body, and shows where the prison of the soul is to be found. The next statement which I would like to make, and which grows normally out of the above, is that the zodiacal, the systemic, and the planetary energies act either as hindering or as stimulating forces, according to the type of vehicle, or body upon which they play. The nature of these vehicles and their capacity to attract, to respond, to reject, to absorb and to transmute is entirely dependent upon the point in evolution attained, and also upon the general planetary condition, and psychology, to be found in the human family at any given time. An instance of the latter can be seen today in the world where the forces, beating in an almost violent and somewhat new measure and tempo upon our planetary life, are evoking a greatly intensified response from the world thinkers, thus stimulating them to earnest effort along ideological lines and, at the same time, are drawing forth from the masses, and the little evolved people nothing but terror. A miserable fatalism, widespread physical depletion, and many other undesirable reactions from the form nature. An understanding of these hindering, or stimulating effects, can be easily grasped by those who can comprehend the nature of the activities of the planet, Saturn. This is the planet which conditions primarily the point in evolution where choice definitely becomes possible, where rejection of opportunity, or its acceptance can consciously be undertaken, and the shouldering of personal responsibility becomes a recognized fact in a planned and ordered life. This point in the human evolutionary process is spoken of in the old commentary in the following symbolic phrases. Amid the whirling forces, I stand confused. I know them not, for, during all my past, they swept me up and down the land wherein I moved, blinded and unaware. From place to place and point to point, they drove me up and down the land and nowhere was there rest. I know them now, and here I stand and will not move until I know the law which governs all this movement up and down the land. I may revolve and turning face the many different ways. I face some wide horizons and yet today I stand. I will determine for myself the way to go. Then onward I will move. I will not travel up and down the land nor turn in space. But onward I will move. There is another revolutionary idea, which the esoteric science of astrology brings to its modern and exoteric aspect. In the greater cycle of man's many incarnations, he as is well recognized passes through the zodiacal circle from Pisces to Aries, thus retrograding through the signs as he follows the sweep or path of the sun's retrogression. This phrase has always disturbed me, but the apparent retrogression, based upon the precession of the equinoxes, is all an integral part of the great illusion. The moment a man begins to emerge out of that illusion, and is no longer subject to the glamour and to the effect of the world Maya, that moment the motion of the great wheel of life is reversed and he then begins, slowly and laboriously, to work in the opposite direction. He then passes through the signs from Aries to Pisces. He begins patiently and consciously to function as a soul struggling towards the light until finally he emerges at the end of the path in Pisces as a world victor and a world savior. He then knows the significance of the triumph over death, because he has surmounted and overcome desire. This reversal of the way a man travels through the signs of the zodiac will necessitate a readjustment of the method employed by astrologers, when they are casting a horoscope of senior aspirants, of disciples and of initiates. According, therefore, to an individual's point of evolution upon the path, or, in other words, the individual's place upon the wheel of life, the practicing astrologer will arrange the interpretation of the horoscope. It will require the work and the thought of the intuitive astrologer, dependent upon soul contact, and much meditation, to determine the processes of astrological interpretation for those who are active and living souls at some one or other of the final stages upon the path. The casting of the horoscope of the average man, or the undeveloped man, presents no such difficulties. It might be added in addition that the signs of the zodiac are concerned primarily with the life expression of the heavenly man, as far as our planet is concerned, and therefore with the destiny and life of the planetary logos. They are also concerned with the great man of the heavens, the solar logos. I refer in this last instance to their effect as it makes itself felt in the solar system as a whole, and with this effect there are few astrologers at this time fit to deal. I would remind you that to the lives who inform these great constellations and whose radiation, page 22, dynamic and magnetic reaches our Earth, this effect is incidental and unnoticed. The primary effect that they have is upon our planetary logos, and this effect reaches us through him, pouring through that great planetary center to which we have given the name of Shambhala. It is, therefore, capable of evoking the major response from the monads, and these monads express themselves through the kingdom of souls, and through the human kingdom. It consequently expresses itself through the hierarchy, and through humanity as a whole. This is a point of real importance, and should be noted, and connected with all the teaching you have had upon this most interesting theme of the three major planetary centers. It is the work of the zodiacal influences to evoke the emergence of the will aspect of the heavenly man, and of all monads, souls and personalities who constitute the planetary body of expression. This statement means but little to you today, but it will mean much to those students who, in a few decades, will study what I am here saying. Properly understood, it accounts for much that is happening in the world at this time. As these influences pour through our planet and thence to the centers of force upon the planet, they produce a dual effect. 1. They produce an effect upon advanced man, galvanizing the centers above the diaphragm into activity and enabling him to respond to the radiation and the activity of the hierarchy. 2. They produce an effect upon unevolved man, enabling him to function as an ordinary, unenlightened human being. It should be noted here, however, that all the energies zodiacal, systemic, and planetary have a definite effect upon all the lives in all forms in all kingdoms of nature. Nothing can escape these radiatory and magnetic influences. The goal of evolution for humanity is to become consciously and livingly aware of the nature of these energies, and begin to know them and to use them. This is the field of occultism, as the hierarchy has always told men. It might be stated that the disciple has to become consciously aware of the planetary influences, and begin to use them for the carrying out of soul purpose. The initiate has to be aware of the zodiacal influences, which emanate from outside of the solar system altogether. These can be recognized as a vibration, registered in one or other of the 7 centers. B. A revelation of a particular type of light, conveying a specific color to the initiate. C. A peculiar note. D. A directional sound. The whole story of the zodiac can be picturesquely yet accurately summed up in the following statement. There are 3 books which the 3 types of human beings study and from which they learn. 1. The Book of Life initiates the 12 constellations. 2. The Book of Wisdom disciples the 12 planets. 3. The Book of Form, or of Manifestation Humanity the 12 creative